Alright, Stallions, this is going to be the Study Guide Africa test. I'm going to go ahead and go over it. So if you have any questions, go ahead and follow along. Please follow along with the voice. So if you hear this, you can follow along even though my writing's a little messed up. So the very first one is Algeria. So Algeria is going to be number 1. It's towards the north. Now we have Botswana. Botswana is above South Africa, so that is 2. Next one we have Chad. Chad is right beside Sudan. So Chad's going to be right here. 3. 4, Egypt, towards the north region. Ethiopia. Now, Ethiopia is right by Somalia, so Ethiopia is going to be number 5, so let's mark that. 6 is Guinea. Now, Guinea is one of the smaller ones, so you're going to have to go ahead and label it. Pause. I'm going to go ahead and do an arrow. So this one's going to be Guinea, which is 6. You have Kenya, 7. So Kenya is right beside Somalia and Ethiopia, so this is going to be 7. Libya is towards Egypt, towards the north. Oh, that's not 5. Libya is 7 or 8. Madagascar is the island, so that's going to be number 9. Number 10 is Mali. Mali is right beside Guinea and Senegal. So this one's Mali, 10. Now I have Morocco. Morocco is towards the north region. That's going to be 11. Mozambique it's going to be in the southern region, right beside the ocean. So that is number 12. Now we have Nigeria. Nigeria is right beside Chad, but towards the southern part of it. So Nigeria, what number are we on? 13. Senegal's like Guinea, it's really small. So Senegal is 14. So it's right there in the western region. 15, we have Somalia. Somalia is towards the east. I'm going to go ahead and draw a little arrow. Somalia, 15. South Africa, 16, all the way towards the south. Oh, that's ugly, 6. Now we have South Sudan, 17. We have Sudan, that's directly above it, 18. 19 is Tanzania. So Tanzania is directly underneath here. So this is Tanzania, 19. 20 is Zambia, 20, and then 21 Zimbabwe. Those are all of the countries in Africa. So we're going to go ahead and move on to number 2. Since we're doing number 2 and the physical features, I'm going to go ahead and erase the map. So if you need to pause it now, please do so. Let me switch the colors, go purple. So the very first one's the Atlas Mountains. The Atlas Mountains is towards the north region. So remember, you're going to have to draw a key. I'm going to go ahead and draw my little mountain peaks. And I'm going to label that on the side, my key. I know it's ugly. This equals mountains. So this is the Atlas Mountains. Wish I had a better stylus. Alright, so Atlas Mountains checked. Now we have the Sahara Desert. Now remember, you're going to estimate the Sahara Desert right underneath the Atlas Mountains. And we're going to go towards the northern region. So if I would estimate it, the best version would be right here. It takes up all the north. So if I want to do those script, this equals, and on your map you can spell it out, but I'm just going to put SD Sahara Desert. Congo Basin, remember the Congo Basin just is not only in the Congo, you have to take up all those countries on the side. So again, estimate it. Congo Basin. Good to go. Nile River is the river directly coming out of Egypt, and it runs all the way to the north. Kind of goes here. Let me do it in a different color. Remember, on your map you could do it in a different color as well. So kind of like so. Go ahead and point it out. Nile River. The Sahel is directly underneath the Sahara. It separates the Sahara Desert and towards the tropical rainforest side. So this region is the Sahel. Suez Canal is in Egypt. It's right here. Let me actually do it in a different color. We'll do it in orange. Suez Canal is located right here. Suez Canal. I have Lake Victoria, so Lake Victoria is located right here. Lake Victoria. The Kalahari Desert's towards the southern region, so the region right here, estimated about the Kalahari Desert. I know it looks like a bunch of scribbles, but again, you should be following along with my voice as well. And then the last physical feature is not on this list, but you should see it on your page. I'm going to go ahead and just say it. It's going to be Mount Kilimanjaro, which is right beside it's in Tanzania, but it's also right at the border. So this right here, it's like a little mountain peak. It's kind of ugly. Let's do it in a different color. Let's do green. So I'm going to point this out. Mount Kilimanjaro. Okay, so that takes care of the first two sections. Remember, those are two different sections of part of your test. I know my map looks a little funky, but hopefully you're following along with my voice so you can tell exactly what is what. Now we're moving on to the next section. So the first one's number 3. Explain the difference between adaptation and modification. Now, adaptation, remember, you are changing something about yourself to fit the environment. That is adaptation. Modification is the opposite. You are changing the environment to fit your needs. So if I look at adaptation, the great ones is whenever, for example, clothing. If it's hot, you typically wear less clothes, or if it's extremely cold, you typically bundle up, depending on how you adapt to your surroundings. Also, if you use the natural resources around you, that is adaptation. For example, making the hut. We have modification. The specific ones that we have learned about is like the Aswan Dam. We also have the Suez Canal, because that is man-made. That's us adjusting. So those are different examples of how we change the environment to fit our needs. And that actually brings us into number 4. What is the Aswan Dam and how does it impact people and the environment? So the Aswan Dam, again, is in the Nile River. It helps prevent flooding. So it's a modification because humans made it. It prevents flooding, and it also provides hydroelectricity. So it also has that positive effect as well. But it has a negative effect. Now, since it's stopping flooding, it's stopping...
Attention students, Gavin Hudson. Please come to the front office. Gavin Hudson.
Okay, excuse me. The negative effects is that it doesn't allow fertile soil coming from up north to go past the dam. So that is actually affecting the agriculture for the farmers. It's also reducing water that they have, but it also provides irrigation as well. Now I have number 5. What is the Suez Canal? Why was it built? Well, the Suez Canal is in Egypt. It was the purpose of the Suez Canal. It's a man-made, so it's modification. It's to help provide a quicker way of passage between Europe and all the way to Asia, like specifically India. So it's both for travel, but it's also for trading purposes. So if you look at the economics of the goods and services, you can actually use that canal so you could travel faster, and it helps you with trading purposes. Number 6, what was the scramble for Africa? Well, the scramble for Africa has to deal with the Europeans and their colonization. So what happened, Europe actually took over Africa, if you will, and they took their countries and their land because they wanted their resources. Now, they didn't really care about preserving African culture. They just took and divided up the land as they saw fit. Kind of like imperialism, when they're taking over because they're wealthier and they're stronger. Number 7, describe what life was like for Africans who were living underneath European controls. As stated before, Europeans didn't really care about keeping African traditional culture. They just cared about their resources and their land and using the African people as well as labor. So they didn't really care as far as making sure that the African people's feelings were accounted for, or they helped agreed with them. They didn't really care about preserving any of their culture. Number 8, explain how African ethnic groups were impacted by the boundaries that European countries created in Africa. So that again, that goes back. Europeans created boundaries, and they could care less about the Africans' point of view. They did so based on what they thought was fit, and they did not ask the native African people their opinion. They drew boundaries regardless of their traditional tribes and where they were located at either way. Alright, we're going to go ahead and get to number 9. Explain what the Arab Spring was and describe how social media impacted the movement. So the Arab Spring was kind of an uprising with the North African people and kind of in the Middle East in general, so also some parts of Asia, where the citizens were trying to change their government from an autocracy, so an unlimited government, to a limited government, specifically probably a democracy. And in some cases, they also wanted a theocracy. So the reason why it happened was a gentleman felt like the government was not listening to his needs, so he became a martyr. And the people realized after this gentleman began to protest that he had a point. So all of the people started to protest against their government. Now, the only way that the public can keep informed was the use of social media. So they used Twitter, they used Facebook, they used all those different platforms to broadcast what was going on. And this helped their movement because their movement was being seen by millions of people. So it kind of put the pressure on the government to actually listen and to change their government. Now, this uprising is still in effect today, but there are also some countries that do now have some type of limited government. So number 10, give me examples of limited government. So 3 examples. Remember, who gives the power to the government if it's limited? The people. So the government does not have all the power. People have the power as far as laws and lawmaking because they actually vote on what they seem fit. Now, examples are democracies, republics, in some cases theocracy, constitutional monarchy. Those are all types of limited government. Number 12. I'm sorry, do we have 2 number 11s? No, that was number 10. So number 11 is actually asking about unlimited government. So unlimited government means that, 1, that the government has all the power. So on laws and law-making abilities and judging the law, it's all the government say so. If I want some more characteristics, if I want examples, I have autocracy, dictatorship, fascism, in some cases, oligarchy, theocracy, in some cases as well. So again, the government holds all the power. So therefore, there's not a lot of rights for the people because the government doesn't care about maintaining those rights. They care about maintaining the country as a whole. So that's their number 1 priority. And they do it how they see fit. Last 2, explain what apartheid was. Apartheid was a law of segregation. So what it was is that it separated people based on their ethnic background or based on their color, their race. So it happened to South Africa, specifically divided amongst the African people. Okay, so it split up like blacks, whites, mixed colors, and I believe the other one was Indian, but it has 4 different categories. So based on those categories, they told you where to live, where to eat, where to go to the restroom at, what restaurants that you could be at. So just your different ways of life. They were categorized, or they gave you laws about what you could and could not do based on the color of your skin. Now, people saw this unjust, and that brings us into number 13. One of those people that were actually anti-apartheid, meaning they were fighting against this law, was Nelson Mandela. So he was very important because he was part of the ANC, which was a group that fought against apartheid. And then you had the massacre that happened that killed a bunch of people, and they changed their tactics, Nelson Mandela and the ANC, to kind of like guerrilla warfare. They became more violent, and that ended up putting Nelson Mandela in jail. And he was supposed to serve a life sentence, but then you had F.W. de Klerk come and release him from jail, and he was president at the time, F.W. de Klerk, and he released Nelson Mandela, and they worked together to end apartheid overall. So that's why he was so important to South Africa people, because he was part of the movement that helped destroy apartheid. So that is about it. This is everything that you need to know for your test. If you need to rewind or go to a certain section, please feel free to do so. If you have any questions, go ahead and email your teacher. Hopefully this helped. Thank you so much. Please study, and we'll see y'all tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye.